Participation, localization, and locally led response research. If we hold such a mirror up to the system, humanitarian agencies collectively will see that we are simply not adequately listening and responding to what people say they want. Masyadong nagmamadali ang proyekto, time-consuming, kung gagawing tunay na participatory, kaya hanggang konsultasyon lang. Asa pang ihiwalay ang konsultasyon ng mga babae sa mga lalaki. Baka mawalan ng mga tao ng ayuda kung ipaglaban nila karapatan nila. Ang mga naga-rights claiming ang nare-red tag. Kaya hirap ang mga tao magreklamo. Tumutulong naman ang barangay sa paggawa ng beneficiary selection criteria. Pero sinisigurado nila na alam ng komunidad na wala silang kinalaman sa pagpili dahil aawayin lang sila ng mga tao. Malinaw na ang accountability ay wala sa LGU kundi nasa NGO. Matingkad ang palakasan kahit na disaster. Kadalasan, kailangan bantayan ng listahan ng barangay dahil maraming tinatanggal o kaya dinadagdag sa mga beneficiaries. Ilan lang ito sa mga kwento ng mga local organizations tungkol sa issue ng humanitarian localization at locally led response. During the 2016 World Humanitarian Summit, it was recognized that the global humanitarian system was ineffective, inefficient, and funds were concentrated in the hands of international actors. Less than 2% of the global humanitarian funds were directly given to local actors. Through the grand bargain, donors and international NGOs agreed to transform the humanitarian system and increase direct funding to 25%. And yet, after 2019, direct funding to local organizations was just above 2%. The dialogues revealed that the issue of localization was not just about funding. The main goal was for local organizations to lead the disaster response. But ironically, much of the debates and localization campaigns were being led by international actors. Localization was a felt but not an explicitly discussed issue amongst local actors. There were varied definitions of localization and locally led response. Many were circular definitions of local actors provided opportunities to lead humanitarian projects. This pointed out that the global debate was not about the romanticized role of local actors as first responders. Instead, local actors needed to have access and control over humanitarian funds and projects. Further elaboration pointed towards localization as the process of building strategic partnerships, sharing resources and capacities, and promoting an environment that enables local leadership in quality humanitarian interactions. With locally led response as an outcome, respondents defined it as local actors being empowered to drive relevant and timely humanitarian interactions towards people-centered development. From these, the issue of power of locals to lead was highlighted. Pero maraming nag-aakala na kapag gumawa na ng konsultasyon at nag-volunteer ang komunidad sa relief distribution, ay partisipasyon na ito. But the problem does not lie in the lack of consultation. All respondents claimed this was always done. The missing piece was social accountability, which is activated by a strong voice of the community. Genuine participation entails communities being informed of their rights, being actively involved in critical decision-making processes, and being able to claim their rights and hold duty bearers accountable if necessary. Participation is not just questioning affected communities on what they need. It also entails asking them what rights are needed to be recognized, protected, and fulfilled to be able to recover. Having a critical voice of the community is necessary to connect humanitarian aid to development work and vice versa. Beyond disaster response management, community participation, advocacy, and rights claiming were also being conducted in disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation, sustainable development, and partnership amongst humanitarian donors and responders. Community voice is seen as an essential element in humanitarian interactions, localization, and locally led response. Consultations are not the only way to listen to the community. Community presence was seen as critical not only to hear, but also for communities to voice out their real concerns. The presence and patience of community-based actors and community organizers have been critical to gain the trust of communities. While many community groups were established by local politicians to access benefits, responders claim organizations formed around rights claiming are more used to participatory processes and voicing out sectoral issues and concerns. Rights claiming goes beyond response project timeframes. Most of the time, these are extensions of and shouldered by the development work of local organizations. Localization as a rights-based advocacy calls for subsidiarity in humanitarian governance. Respondents identified that the lobby to centralize disaster response management into a super department challenges decentralized participatory approaches in humanitarian action. Empower communities to participate in critical decision-making processes. Build on strength of local actors in organizing communities, in existing initiatives on localization, and in development work. Enable participatory local governance platforms during disasters to mobilize local stakeholders and to promote social accountability. By operating on existing local participatory governance platforms, local actors are able to institutionalize reforms. Local organizations are able to manage local power dynamics. Partisan politics are often addressed through their national and regional networks. Local actors permanently based in the communities are more open to collaboration and resource sharing that goes beyond project resources. Coursing the response through community-based organizations allow them to enhance their social capital with LGUs that can be leveraged in development work. Active engagement in local participatory governance was key in addressing red tagging obstacles. Your localization workshop is an opportunity for you to voice out your issues and your vision with other local humanitarian actors. What are your issues in enabling participation and strengthening local voices? How do you envision locally led disaster response? How do you propose to address these issues and realize your vision? We can also further deepen the questions on participation. What rights are needed to be recognized, protected, and fulfilled for recovery? How can the voices of affected communities and local change actors be strengthened to promote social accountability? How can other humanitarian stakeholders support the local voices' call for social accountability?